All right, it's your collegiate compadres coming at you today. We got Gen Z and the Audacity for Change article. I'm just going to give you a rundown of some of the things in the article, and then some of my other compadres are going to talk to you about what our discussion was and some of the things that they've got. So, first up, some of the things that Generation Z stand out as compared to other generations. They have an audacity, like the article says, to make real change. They're very passionate about actually affecting change in society, culture, friend groups, wherever they're at. They want to see real change to happen, according to this article. They like to support things, especially brands and other, companies that really reflect consistency with what truth that they're holding with. They're not going to support a business or a brand that is quote unquote fake. So they like to be creators and they like to be part of creating something. They're not a generation that likes to show up to something already established and just be a part of it. They'd rather be on the creating end of it, given the responsibility to make change in that way. Some of the key things to connecting with Gen Z are to ask them what they're passionate about, and then let them cast a vision for how that passion may impact the gospel, especially as you minister to them and just helping equip them, sort of lead them on a path towards that making that real change for what they're passionate about. But one of the primary things in this generation is just to be present and faithful. All right, boys.
Yeah, and just kind of build on that. What really stuck out to me was a section where it's titled "Our Role in Nurturing Kingdom Expanding Change," and how faithfulness is so important to this generation. I've had the opportunity to minister to this specific group for about 7 years now, and what I've seen is the brother that I serve alongside. We've been serving together for almost 7 years. Is we've been faithful, and they've bought in to the faithfulness. Like they trust us because we've stayed. There was a revolving door before we got there, and there was a huge lack of trust by this generation. And now that we've just been there and been faithful and haven't had a ton of bells and whistles and this, that, and the other, it was just simply, we're here, we love you, Jesus is king, and communicating that truth to them consistently. They bought into us as people, and what ends up happening is as they buy into the faithfulness of the leader, is they yearn and they want to serve in a greater capacity. And so that section really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and just I've experienced that as well. Just like the faithfulness goes a long way. And I work with just high school, junior high, middle school students, and um, that faithfulness just to be there and love on them it goes a really long way. But just going through this article and reading about how this generation desires to like be at the forefront of change. I look at my students and working with them, and I don't see a ton of that in my students. And I would say this generation is more to that change, but my students are just kind of what they struggle with is just blending in and going with the flow and being accepted and liked, and so they don't step out and we just talked about Matthew 7. Jesus talks about going the narrow way or the broad way, and that narrow way leads to life and that broad way leads to destruction. And but they find themselves in that easier road to go down, and getting them to realize, hey, this narrow road that not everybody goes down is the one that leads to life, and they can make a whole lot of change if they would just step out into that. But yeah, when I look at the students that I work with, this stepping out and just being at the forefront of change is something I think they struggle with.